Now, is there anybody from Texas here? Okay, that's good. This piece is called Why I Hate Texas. After I got sober, I thought I should be doing some things in order for a change. So I got an education, restored my credit, and I got a new wife. My first one, Hadley, and I had been divorced for a while, even though the paperwork was drying about the time I was proposing to my second. We can call her April. That's not her real name. The only time I want to see her real name is when I look in the mirror, where it is inked into my chest, right next to the demon holding my ripped out heart. Sarah, and then we get the demon over there. To remind me what a chump I was. That's also Hadley's name, my first wife. Okay. So only a certain kind of guys can get a woman's name repeatedly. I'm that kind of guy. Another thing I did after cleaning up, besides the piss-poor choice of a second wife, was reconnect with old friends. Ex-drug buddies, running partners, musicians I'd lost track of during the salad years. Some had died, like Junkie Jason. Others were in prison or in Wisconsin, which I guess is the same thing. Still others were online. Two of these we can call Todd and Marty. That's not their real names either. Todd and Marty weren't part of the San Francisco rock and roll drug scene. They were never really addicts. Only Todd doing the occasional line of crank. In fact, Bluehead used to ask why even let them hang around. They lived in the South Bay. Seriously, who chooses to live in the South Bay? It had been in some of the worst named bands ever, including, but not limited to, November and Ardor. But I liked them, especially Marty. He was a skinny, soft-spoken kid who seemed to look up to me. Marty didn't do drugs, never touched the stuff. He sang real pretty. Todd was sort of a douche, with no neck and a blocky longshoreman's body. The kind of fat guy who shaves a line into his beard to give the false impression of a chin. Covered in cliched, badly drawn tattoos, and one of the least flexible guitarists I've ever met, Todd wasn't as likable as Marty. Nor was he as attractive, and considering Marty himself wasn't particularly good-looking, I guess we can just call him ugly. But he looked up to me as well. If you like me a lot and think I am something special, I can overlook just about any character flaw. Anyway, after I kicked junk, I reconnected with Todd and Marty, who were two of the gayest heterosexual men you'll ever meet. Todd paid the bills, and Marty, I shit you not, went to culinary school. So how did these two clowns ruin my marriage? Well, to quote Bruno Kirby from When Harry Met Sally, infidelity is just a symptom, to which Harry replies, yeah, well, that symptom is fucking my wife. I was living in Connecticut, my home state, where I'd re-enrolled in college to finish my degree. It's how I met April, who, though ridiculously young, had done a great job selling herself. I always said when April wanted to be my girlfriend, she was a great girlfriend. And when she wanted to be my fiancée, she was a terrific fiancée. And as long as she wanted to be my wife, she was sweet as Southern Punch. And when she decided that she did not want to be any of those things anymore, she turned off her love light like a fucking switch. I made it a habit to come back to San Francisco at least once a year, mostly to see folks like Bluehead and Kelpbed, Tom Pitts, my cool San Francisco friends. But when I took April with me, I squeezed Todd and Marty in for dinner because, frankly, my ego wanted a boost. I wanted her to hear the glory stories of, oh, if you'd only have known him when. We met up for dinner, had drinks over at the Latin American Club. It was a long night with lots of laughing. We promised to keep in touch. Fast forward about a year. April and I are married. I'm in grad school in Miami. Todd and Marty have taken their domestic partnership down to Houston, Texas, where Todd works and supports the family and Marty bakes colorful pies. I exchange occasional emails with them, don't really give much thought after that. It would turn out, however, that since that trip to San Francisco, April and Marty have been emailing each other a lot, making each other mixtapes. When it came time for my annual trip to San Francisco, April pressed me to go see Todd and Marty in Houston instead, which I couldn't understand. These guys were never that good of friends. Certainly not the kind who shelled the money for a plane ticket to fly and see, especially to an awful place like Texas. Call me dumb, naive, but I didn't suspect a thing. 3 days in Houston, 3 days in hell, and it all makes sense now, after the fact. God, even thinking about that city's miserable, sweltering architecture, rivals getting tested for chlamydia, April gave me. Which is funny because all the junkie girls I had sex with, all those years I was fine. It was the WASP in upscale Greenwich, Connecticut who gave me the clap. The important parts to know. When it comes time to leave Houston, April and I are fighting and she won't get on the plane. I don't know what's going on. She's been moody of late, emotional and argumentative. In the end, I talked to Todd down by the pool before my flight, asked him what I should do. He said she probably just needs time. You know how young wives are. Leave her here. Who better to trust than your two oldest friends? So I left her there. Thinking a couple days she'd fly back and I'll be fine, and even reading this now I feel like a goddamn idiot. You can guess the rest. Phone calls unanswered, waiting until I was gone from my Miami apartment to come home, pack her bags, and return to Houston to carry on her affair with Marty. For me, a relapse and near-death experience, a quick tune-up in the psych hospital, back to grad school, getting a hotter girlfriend, another closer near-death experience in a horrific motorcycle accident, moving back to San Francisco with a master's degree in hand, landing an even hotter wife, making money, writing books, getting short stories published, and having the greatest kid ever, my boy Holden. So in short, to quote Charlie, winning. Or maybe that's just a wee bit of justification and posturing, the spackle for a split open heart that still hasn't healed despite the years, still oozing self-loathing and regret and shame. Who knows? All I know is that rather than blaming myself, it's easier for me to blame the entire fucking state of Texas. Alright, postscript, the revenge part, mildly. In a happy ending of sorts, this story betrayal and cocksucking friends, I never saw Marty again. And frankly, I couldn't have hit him. It'd be like hitting a girl. He's so soft and dainty. Skinny fat, you know, the kind, wispy thin without a toned muscle, like walking human veal. But I saw Todd again. He's a big guy. 300 pounds, gelatinous mass. And of the two, I was actually more pissed at him because he'd given me his word. It was for a wedding. While I was wrapping up that degree in Florida, I flew out with said hotter girlfriend to San Francisco to see my friend Dan, married his longtime sweetheart Yuri, all the boys of Belvedere there. Dan's bachelor party was at Zeitgeist, the biker bar just up the road. This was about 5 months after my motorcycle accident. I'd been walking without a cane for maybe a week. 3 giant screws holding my hip and broken body parts together. I hadn't spoken with Todd since the Houston incident. I mean, I called a couple times, but it was clear she was staying with them, that they were laughing at me, that I was a punchline. I stopped calling. I got it. Anyway, I walk into Zeitgeist. It's a little early for the party, although limped is more like it. And who do I see sitting there with a girlfriend and some buddies in the crowded open patio drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette, yucking it up with his shaved-in fat man beard? Fucking Todd. And he sees me walking toward him, and he has the nerve to stand up and spread his arms wide, like we were old pals, and with a broad smile he says, "Oh, wow, look who." And I cold-cocked him. Dropped him with one punch. It's really hard to drop someone with one punch, unless it's the movies, especially someone so fat. Of course, I got kicked out of the bar, missed half the bachelor party, and when my girlfriend found out, she wasn't happy. That was Darcy Rich. I'm pretty sure it led to our breakup. The next day at the wedding, I had to field questions about still being the immature asshole who gets in bar fights. Still, I'd do it again. Best goddamn punch I've ever thrown. You don't get a lot of opportunities to pay back the hurt you owe. I owe a lot of hurt over this one. I don't think I ever will fully recover from what they took from me, but I was happy for the chance to start chipping away at the debt. Thank you.